Hi, everybody. I'm Linda Brubaker, and this is Lunch and Learn. It's a job search group, and we're glad you're here, although I'm not for the reason, but we're all here to provide support and assistance to one another as we move forward in the job search. This is kind of my love. I love being able to provide and give back to everybody, but my own business is that providing job search coaching, which includes resume assistance. It includes LinkedIn profile assistance, LinkedIn engagement, job search strategy, interview prep, and more throughout the entire process of your job search. So I'm here to support you in any way that I can. But in addition, this is the free support group. It's the way that we give back to one another and be able to provide you all with resources and assistance and lots of information. So please, the chat is open. Put your information in the chat so that we can connect with one another. And I will put that chat into our private group. In the meantime, let's start with some quick wins. Anybody have a quick win that they want to share? Lisa.
So I'll share one that I helped somebody with getting a contracting job. Um, Kind of illustrates the networking. That the story was my former manager was giving a referral for somebody, a former colleague of mine. And that recruiter said, by the way, do you have anybody who would want to do QA testing? And so my manager asked me, and I said, yes, I'd be interested in doing that. And I talked to the recruiter, and she submitted me to the hiring manager, who wanted somebody who had done it hands-on more recently. I've been, managing that, but it hadn't been like, hands-on. Anyway,
Okay.
I recommended somebody from my team, and she wound up getting offered the job.
Oh, that's
So
great.
yeah, so that was good. And then I was connected, I'm now connected with that recruiter too. And she said, she's working on seeing what else she can find for me that would be more of a fit for me. So it was a
Perfect.
win for both of us, really.
Absolutely. And that's one of the really important things is to remember that when you're doing this, every time a recruiter reaches out to you, even if it's not the right fit for you, always respond. Get back to them, talk to them, give them some ideas and support because they may be able to then remember you more, right?
Mhm.
And when something comes up, they will say, she was really helpful. Let me get back in contact with her. So it's always, if it's not the right fit for you, do make sure that you answer anyway and provide them with some assistance where you can.
Okay. And that recruiter called me and said, wanted to make a special call to me to say thank you too. So it's good.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. So that absolutely does help. So thank you for sharing that, Lisa.
You're welcome.
John.
Hello. Hello. So I have a possibility of getting a contract job that's down to myself and one other person. So the recruiter reached out to me last week. Um, Said they after about 2 days after my interview that I had on Monday, they were going to interview one other person and then make a final decision. Still waiting to hear back, but the recruiter did say that, if I didn't hear right away that it was a no, then that's sometimes a good sign that they might be working on a offer. So I'm just they gave an update on Friday just saying that they are still haven't made a final decision. So I'm still just in waiting mode. So hopefully it will be good news.
Absolutely. We'll all keep our fingers crossed and make sure you let us know, John.
Okay, I will.
Okay. And so the idea that not necessarily hearing back right away, that's not unusual. It's nice that the recruiter gave you a time frame, but unfortunately you can't hold them to the time frame because so many other things come into play. So it's a good gauge, an idea, but there's no guarantee that it's really going to work out that way. Okay. But at least you have something that you know you can follow up on. Okay. Hello. What do you have for us today?
Talking to me? I
I
didn't
am.
hear me.
Sorry
Okay,
about
good morning, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. So I'm not sure it comes in the category of a win, but as I mentioned, I talked with this company 2, 3 months ago. They liked me. Then they said, we don't have a budget for you. We want to bring you as an advisor or contractor. Okay, great. And I started engaging with them, but the contract kept one excuse after excuse after excuse, silence excuse. Finally, I got the contract on Friday, last Friday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So, but here's the question. Here's the question. When we discussed it, we said there would be some cash, some stock. And when I got the contract on Friday, it's only stock at some unspecified price. And the company's early stage startup, they do have money. They raised about 12 million. And then the hiring manager sent me an email and said, let's talk Tuesday. What's your availability? I gave my availability and she did not call me. So here is the final question is that, and the title is advisor for about 8 hours a month, kind of, plus quarterly something. So it's not very intensive in terms of time. Is it a common thing for advisory that you only get shares, or there is also a cash payment included? That's my question, basically.
So honestly, I've never heard of it that way, of just having the stock. Okay. Now, if it is considered to be a contract kind of a position, there should be some sort of cash involved, not just stock. If it is strictly an advisory position, okay, then it may be almost like an unpaid board of directors or an unpaid consulting kind of a role, in which case the stock would be a nice thing. But DM me later on LinkedIn and remind me I have a resource for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But remember to DM me or I forget.
Will do.
Okay.
And or after this call, I would send you a direct email.
Perfect.
Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have a win? And that is a win, by the way. Getting to the point where people are willing to offer you something, even if it's something you turn down, that's a good thing. Okay. It means you've got the right information, you're making the right contacts, you're having those good conversations. And by the way, I'm one of those people who say that choosing to turn something down is a good thing. You're the one who's in control of your own job. There aren't many things you can control, but you can control whether or not you take an offer, whether or not this is the right opportunity for you. I talk a lot about finding your next forever job, but I also talk about hiring your next company. It has to be the right fit for you. So unless this is either a very temporary role or a transitional role, right? Or a subsistence role, you need something now in order to pay a bill, where you don't necessarily have that leeway. When you're looking for that next forever position, you get to hire them as much as they hire you. And I know it sounds scary to say you're going to turn something down if it's not the right fit, but it has to be the right fit for you or you're going to be unhappy and you're going to be in this boat again soon.
And if I may add one thing, I
Sure.
spent about 9 hours with their team. They are extremely unexperienced. So after going through and the feedback I provide, the advice, I said to myself, really, I'm that good. So it was one of those that really helped my mental health. That's the common word these days. I really add this 9 hours because some of the fundamentals, these people, nice. I mean, the file and rank are very nice, by the way. Was kind of helped me boost my ego, and I said, yeah, I'm that good. So it was kind of going back to the basic, very hands-on, going into the details, and I thought, I really enjoyed it myself because, as I said, it's kind of boosted my ego that I know some stuff.
You always do. I think that's
And a
great.
bit of a humor adding here as well, by the way.
Good. Okay. And so that's true. Every time you get an interview request, take it, whether it's a job you think you want or not. If nothing else, it's good practice. And so that it does work. And you never know where that's going to wind up. Okay. So that's wonderful. Any other wins? All right. And do make sure you're putting your stuff in the chat. Okay. I put some of mine in there as well, and I'm going to add some more as we go along. Trying some new technology, and that piece didn't work yet either. But it's a learning experience, right? There's never a failure. It's always a learning experience. You learn something new. So we're going to make sure that that works next time. In any event, what we're going to talk about today is that whole idea of planning your job search and tracking your job search and making sure that you know what's going on, and so that you're not letting things fall through the cracks. So I want to talk about this in terms of the idea of planning the search first. What kinds of things are you doing? And we may make that a separate section too. We may do more tracking today. But when you're planning your job search, what kinds of things are you including in that job search, in that plan? Okay, I see networking, scheduling. Okay. List of contacts for reach out. Excellent. Informational interviews. Wonderful. Too few people do that. Okay. Job boards itself. Absolutely. Research about the companies. All those things are really important. Now, how do you keep track of all of that? So let's talk about some of these to begin with. So the idea of those contacts for current reach out. So you all have LinkedIn connections. By the way, I think I did put my LinkedIn URL in the chat. I'm going to do it again. But the idea is you've got that whole list of connections, and your connections are also connected to other people. How often do you go through those connection lists and try and reach out and do any contact with some of those people? Follow up, see what's going on with them, have those informational interviews with people you're already connected with. No, I'm not seeing a lot of information, a lot of hands. Okay. Not enough. I'll tell you, Scott, neither do I. Okay. It's one of my goals for the coming month is to make sure that I'm reaching out to some of those people in my contact list just to see what's going on with them. So reaching out to the people you're already connected with is not a bad thing. It's a very good thing because you already have that connection. You're already a known commodity, even if it's only by name and number, right? You are my first level connection. So do a search of your connections. See what industries they're in. See what their job titles are. They're a great place to start for that informational interview. They're a great place to go for follow-up, to see what's going on with them. They're a great place to go to ask for endorsements for some of the skills that you're adding to your profile or that you're updating on your profile. But remember, anytime you're reaching out, it always starts with them and then follow up with you. Networking is a connection. It is a conversation, and it should be more give than get. That's important, so I'm going to say it again. Networking is more about giving without an expectation of return. It's more about giving than getting. Too often I see networking requests where it's, what can you do for me? Here's what I'm looking for. Who can you point me in the right direction for? And that's great once we've had conversations. Once you already know something about me and I know something about you, and I've offered to help you too. So the networking is important, but start making use of the network that you have. Now, you also know that you can search the networks of the people that you're connected to. So let's say that you're in, and I think Ken talked about this a little bit when he was talking about using LinkedIn as a search engine. So if you're interested in somebody in a certain field, do a search for second level connections. Do a search for first level connections. Put in the job title, put in the company, put in the field, and see who pops up. And if there's somebody out there who is not part of your first level connections, reach out to the person they're connected to and ask for a LinkedIn e-introduction. Now, I know that I've done that for a couple of people. Al, I think you're still on the call. Al Nunez, are you here?
Yes.
Okay, so I did that for Al, for example.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You gave me a couple of contacts and they were great to talk to. I think sometimes, it may not get you a connection to a role, but I think for me, evaluating a new kind of position and hearing their experience was really important to me in making that decision to move to consider this position. So yeah, appreciate those kind of contacts.
Okay, so it may not be somebody that, I'm glad that worked. May not be somebody that you know directly, may not be somebody I know directly. In this case, I happen to know both of those people. Okay, which made it easier. But even if I don't know those people, or you don't know the people somebody's asking you to connect them with, the idea of making that LinkedIn e-introduction, do it in a message, listing them both in that LinkedIn message. People are more willing normally to respond to you that way. So you might as well take advantage of some of those connections and connections of connections that are out there. Okay. So reach out to your connections. Now, I know that in the previous Lunch and Learn, we talked about when you reach out to connections or when you're making those kinds of connections, how many of you do a voice message on LinkedIn or know how to do one? I know I'm off the topic a little bit. Okay. Do you have LinkedIn, the app on your phone? Michelle, have you done them?
No, I know how to do it, but I haven't done it. I just haven't gotten brave enough to do it.
I'll tell you, it took me a while to try and get up the
Yeah,
bravery.
because it's gonna take like a couple of takes just to get the first one going, and then when I'm more comfortable with it, and then besides the content, like, I know I can do a voice, a pronunciation of my name, that's easy
Right.
enough, but that's audio. I don't need video for that. But
Right.
when I want to do the video, I do want to do like a good intro. So I want to have a script ready, and I'll probably have to do a couple of takes, but I haven't tried it yet.
Right. But you can also do just a voice message on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I've done a voice message in a LinkedIn live room before. And that's actually helpful because sometimes I'm out on a walk and I'm listening to the live, and so I just do the audio and that shoots the message. So
Right. But you can also do it just the same way that you would do a DM on LinkedIn, a direct message. You can direct message somebody on LinkedIn with a voice message. And we're finding that those voice messages are, how do I phrase this? I don't want to say that they make you more human, but they make you more human.
they're more personable,
They
right?
are more personable. You've got your personality in there. You're not a bot. A bot isn't
right.
sending a voice message.
Yeah.
And you can actually get that personal connection and hear that personal connection a lot more in that voice message than you can in just the written text message. So try one. It may sound intimidating. It's really not. It's like leaving a voicemail. Okay. The difference is you have a timer.
Yep.
The other difference is if you run out of time, you can send a second one very easily. And I've had people send me 3 in a row, okay, because they had more that they wanted to say and ran out of time. So the timer will cut you off, but you can just keep right on going. Okay, you just hit it again and keep going. You can only do it from your phone. So you have to have the LinkedIn app on your phone. Go into your messages, and you can, from your messages on your phone in LinkedIn, you can send a voice message. And what Michelle was talking about is a video message as well. And I'll be honest, I haven't tried those yet. That's on my to-do list. Same reason, Michelle, right?
Yeah, because you just don't want to one sound rambling, because you want to have a crisp message, and sometimes you're doing an intro, you want to tell them about yourself, and you don't want to seem like you're an airhead or rambling on with no substance. So I do want to play around with that a little bit and do a couple of takes, and it'd be funny to post about, how many times it took to get there.
Yeah,
Because you're giving yourself grace. So it's also funny, and, I'm okay with
absolutely.
that too.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, I have only gotten in all my years on LinkedIn, and granted, these voice messages have only really come into play I've only seen them within the last 6 months. I know they've been there longer, but I've only been seeing them and doing them for the last 6 months. But the video messaging on LinkedIn is something that's relatively new, and I've only gotten one. I've never given one, but I've only gotten one.
Yeah, I
So,
have to get brave.
yeah. I do a couple of LinkedIn videos, but I don't do the voice messaging yet. So we'll see how it goes. But thank you.
You're welcome.
So Vanadurga,
Yeah, Linda, I've come to know just now about the voice messaging in LinkedIn. It's very interesting. As you are saying that you don't have idea, can anyone help show me how to do where it is actually? Because we usually send a DM a text message, but I never seen where it is located and how does. Like, is there any mic available, like in WhatsApp, whatever?
you do it as if you are using the speakerphone on your phone. So you have to do it from your telephone and from the LinkedIn app on your phone.
I have already LinkedIn app.
So you go
So
messaging.
just when you prompt up, there's a mic on your keyboard. You're just hitting the mic and you're talking into your device.
Exactly. It's like leaving a voicemail.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. It's an easy thing to do. It's something we forget to do. But if you're going back and you're contacting your contacts, or you're reaching out for an informational interview with someone, it's a great way of making yourself different, making yourself stand out and showing that you're really taking the time. It's not just a standard message you're copying and pasting in, because you can't do that with a voice message. At least yet. I'm hoping you can't, but for right now, you can't. Okay. All right. So that's one thing. If you're reaching out to your contacts, we talked about in terms of your job search itself. Okay. Going back to some of the things you all put in the chat. Okay. What things you're doing now. So that's the reaching out to your current list of contacts or to somebody else's contacts, right? You want to do some networking. We're going to do another we've done at least one of these lunch and learns on networking. We're going to do another one soon. But networking is incredibly important. But in spite of what you read, networking by itself, somebody walking your resume down to the hiring manager, happens very rarely in terms of actually getting you a job. Networking absolutely helps. It provides you information about the company, about the position, about the hiring process. It helps you learn more about the organization and how you can fit. In many cases, hopefully, you'll get to the point where somebody will say, hey, let me refer you in, but that doesn't happen right away. If somebody does refer you in, what that does in most cases is it's almost a guarantee that at least you and I will take more than just a quick scan of your resume. But it is not the norm that somebody will walk your resume down the hall, unless it's somebody you've worked with or known well, that somebody's going to walk your resume down the hall and they're immediately going to interview with you and hire you. Hate to burst your bubble. Networking absolutely works. And if we're going to say that 80% of jobs are found through networking, if you're going to include that informational networking, that let's find out more about who's out there. Let's make some of those connections. Let's do some of these LinkedIn engagements so that you become that known commodity. In my mind, that's all kind of that networking piece. Absolutely, that 80% really counts. But walking your resume down the hall, that's very rare. Has anybody gotten a job directly through that kind of somebody walking your resume down the hall? Okay. Allie, you have?
So Yes, once, and that was a former manager who wanted to hire me again. So I went through the whole sing and dance of multiple interview but from day one, pretty much, again, he told me do your best, but pretty much I knew because he called me, said, this position is opening. It's for my own team. I want you in, and that's what you need to do. And he was coaching me before every interview,
Right.
and I got the job.
That's great. Lisa.
But that's the only time networking has worked for me.
Yeah. Lisa.
So yeah, the job that I had was through networking. My friend connected me with an executive at the company where I was, and that group was just starting to think about having a project manager job. So there was nothing, there wasn't a job to walk down the hall to a hiring manager, but he connected me with that group, that the hiring manager that was just starting to formulate a job. So I got that before it was even a posted job. So
Which is perfect. That's exactly
yeah,
the way you want it
that
to
was
work.
like-
But
yeah.
that's what networking is all about. It's that idea of being able to bring people together, to share information, to share ideas, and to help make you that known commodity.
Hmm.
And the more we can do that, whether it's informational networking, informational interviewing, whether it's reaching out to people to get information, to make those connections, that kind of networking absolutely helps.
So what kind of stats would those kind of jobs like that, like where networking might get you something before they even post it on LinkedIn or their own website or whatever? Do you know anything?
Those are
about that?
actually harder, okay? Okay, I know people talk a lot about that hidden job market, and yes, there are some jobs that are out there that people don't know. The idea is if you want to get involved in some of that, people walking your resume down the hall, you need to make those connections. They need to know you. You need to be that, I don't want to say thought leader, but that professional expert on ways that they can find you. It's not just your resume. It's not just your LinkedIn profile. It's your LinkedIn engagement so that they know who you are and what you can contribute. And then that networking might be able to network you in. Continue to make those networking connections in the companies that you're interested in. Reach out to people in the industry. Build those networks. And once you become those known commodities, that idea of having conversations with the hiring manager, with the hiring team, with HR, even before a position is open, are more likely.
Okay, thanks.
Uh-huh. And that's absolutely true, Joe. Joe said that one of the reasons that some of those networking connections work in terms of companies, a lot of companies have referral bonuses. So as part of your informational interviewing, not the first ask, but you can say as part of one of those conversations, by the way, I am applying for a job in your company. If you have a referral bonus, would you like me to list your name on the application? That's an easy way of doing it because it makes them feel less obligated to say, gee, I really know this person. It's added to the application. They get the referral bonus if you get hired. And if somebody's name is listed as part of that referral process, again, human eyes are guaranteed to really read your resume. In many companies, if you have that referral name, you are guaranteed at least that initial screening interview. May not go beyond that, but that's up to you. But that referral name, if there is that process within the company, always helps. In fact, even if they don't have a referral program, if you've been talking to people from the company in your cover letter, you can mention their name. Right? I've been talking with people like so-and-so and so-and-so, and they're really excited about the company, which is one of the reasons that I wanted to apply. It's that informal way of using their name. Always ask them first. But it's another way of making sure that your resume gets more than just that 2 to 9 second skim. Applying as a referral candidate, absolutely, if you can. Trying to look over here, the chat. All right, so let's go back and talk about other ways that we're applying and talking about this. Because I want to make sure that we have enough time to move into networking, because I said we were going to do that today too. So your job search strategy should involve a lot of different things, right? It involves networking. Absolutely. We don't do that enough. We don't reach out to our contacts and contacts of contacts and people we don't know who are doing what we want to do or in the companies that we want to be involved in. It involves searching the job boards. And I will tell you that in all my years of finding jobs, all of my jobs have come through job boards except one. No, I take it back. All of my jobs have come through job boards. The one that I was thinking about that did not was that I had applied for another job within the company. My resume was still in that system. They found me that way and then reached out. But the initial contact was still through a job board. Yes, Deborah.
Yeah, so I heard from another coach that, oh, stop applying for job boards, that it's the networking that increases your chance of getting hired by 40%. And so I'm not an all or nothing person, so I think that, there's probably truth in both, because I did get I was reached out to when I applied to something on my own on a job board, or the company's site. So I guess I'm just trying to understand that balance, and I understand the portions of referrals, but I also think on that side of it, I would think nowadays with everybody applying, like companies getting so many applicants, this is what's just going on in my head. They probably think, oh, that referral probably hardly knows the person they're referring. They just want the $1,000 or whatever. And you know what I mean? Like, so I'm thinking, like, would companies think also that how much is a referral worth? It's not like you're buddies with them and you've worked with them necessarily. And then I had that first, point that I pointed out.
Right. So I will tell you that it's a yes and no question, and I can't give you a yes and no answer. Okay. Yes, referrals help. Yes, referrals help to make sure that you get seen. Okay. And when I say that, it doesn't mean that your resume isn't going to get seen otherwise. Every resume that comes in, as long as you meet basic criteria, is going to get looked at. But you have 2 to 9 seconds to grab my attention. That referral may make it another 12. Okay, I may read a little further, but you're right, Deborah, because there's so many people who are using this referral process. If I reach out to the person who referred you and they say, yeah, well, I just met them on LinkedIn, it doesn't do you any good. It doesn't do you much good. There has to be that bit of connection. Now, a lot of companies aren't going to take the time to reach out unless they're really serious about you. So reach out to the person who referred you to say, how do you know them? What can you tell me? So it's hard to tell. I think that it's still an excellent idea to make sure that you can get some of those names if you can, but don't stop yourself from applying if you don't have that person to refer you in. And by the way, you can get that referral in even after you've already applied. It doesn't have to be right away.
Okay, that's actually good to know, because I don't want to keep bothering, my one referral at that company every time I apply for a position. You know what I mean? I don't mind asking them one time, but I don't want to be like, hey, I applied for another one and another one and another one.
No. No. So if you've got a referral into the company already, that's good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can just mention it in your cover letter.
Oh, okay. So that way I don't have to keep asking them. I applied for another job, and can you walk this down to the hiring manager, kind of thing?
If you know that it's in that department that person works in, okay, then you may want to say, hey, by the way, you've spoken so highly about this department and everything you do. I just saw another position. If you feel comfortable, would you tell the hiring manager that I've applied and give me a push?
Okay, so in general, just if on the online application, it says a line for a referral name, then we can put it down, but if not, then, we'd have to ask the referral, can you give this to the hiring manager? or
Right,
something?
and in many cases, it doesn't even necessarily need to be given to the hiring manager unless they know the hiring manager. So
Which is not likely if it's a big company.
and that's exactly right. Okay, but if your name is there, their name is there, that helps. Okay, just the fact that another employee said it was there. So in your cover letter or on your application, if there's a blank saying, who do you know in the company? Or who's your referral? Do you have an employee referral? Okay, that will stay with you regardless of what position you're hiring for or they're hiring for, because your application is going to go into an applicant tracking system, a database. So that person's name is going to be affiliated with yours for all of the applications that you make after that one.
Okay. Okie dokes. That sounds good. And then also still, like you said, apply job
Absolutely.
boards online, even if we don't know anybody, because it's just another route.
It absolutely is. So don't limit yourself just to going in by network. And don't limit yourself just to doing the job boards. You have to do all of it. But either way, you have to make sure that whatever you're submitting matches the job that you're applying for each and every time.
So that's really where we need to take the work. And we need to take the time to do the work, even if it's, I see a lot of job board things or things from LinkedIn and Indeed, and it's like, it's just going to take a lot of time to customize each resume and apply.
And I
even
understand
doing it
that,
online.
but honestly, as a recruiter, as a hiring manager, and as a job search coach, the customization is what really makes the difference. You have to
Okay,
tell me why you fit my job. You mentioned that there are 200 resumes that may come in for a role. My human eyes are going to look at all of those, unless there's something that specifically says, knock it out. But very rarely is that going to be the case. So I'm going to take the time to look at all of those. The easier you make it for what I call the dummy on my side of the desk or the screen to see how you fit my role, the more likely I am to reach out to you. And the way you do that is by customizing that resume, making that effort to show me how you fit.
okay, thank you. Yep, and then the referrals are just extra, like if somebody can put my resume near the top or have their name on, then that helps. But it's really making sure my resume is the right fit with the right words.
Right. Even with the referrals, you have to be able to demonstrate how you fit the role.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. James.
Hi, yes, I'm not going to be on camera today, but I really appreciate it. So I wanted to ask how, when there's like a rush to apply now, it seems like between AI and all these different things that are going on, like how much does being an early applicant really matter was kind of my question.
Okay. So you actually brought two different things in there. One is AI and one is the early applicant. So I recommend actually that you try and apply within the first week if you can. You can't always. You need to make sure that you not only find it, but that you take the time that it's needed in order to really customize your resume. If it's going to take you longer than a week, then do that. If the job is still posted on the company's website, it's okay. Now, a lot of times companies will say, okay, I've gotten 200 resumes. I'm going to stop reviewing them until I've gone through this pile, and then I'm going to look at the rest. But depending upon the company, okay, many of them for which I've worked, and I can't speak about all of them, but when you apply for a job, not only is it going into the ATS, I'm going to get a quick little email saying X number of people just applied, and I'm curious enough, I'm going to go take a look. And if something pops out at me, I'm going to pull them in. I can't tell you the number of positions that I was in the middle of the hiring process or going through all those applications. Somebody came in several weeks later and they came to the top of the pile. I can't tell you that happens every time by any means or for every recruiter, but don't screen yourself out. Don't stop applying because you're late in the process. If they are still accepting applications, it's not a bad thing. The other thing is that even if they've stopped really taking a look at applications for this position, your resume, your cover letter is still going to be in their system. And just as somebody mentioned earlier in the call today, somebody went back through the system, saw their information, pulled them back up. And even though they hadn't applied for a specific position, they were still talked to, and it still became a job that they were interested in and that they were called for and interviewed for. And in some cases, like mine, I actually got hired. So don't stop applying, but earlier you can do it, probably the better. Now, in terms of AI, please, please, please don't let AI format your resume. Don't let AI format your cover letter. Don't let AI format any of your conversations on LinkedIn or elsewhere. If you want to use AI as a starting point, an idea, that's fine. But AI can never substitute for you.
No, I totally get that, and I do understand. My thought on AI was the fact that many others are using it, applying, and essentially spamming the system way earlier than I could. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to keep up if I am customizing my resume and doing all the things? I'm just like, it seems impossible. And then by that time, sometimes the position is closed, within, or they stop accepting applications or whatever. So it just seems like this rush now that there wasn't before.
And you're right. And part of that is that there are honestly so many more people looking for jobs, and it is a tougher job market than it has been again for a while. So yes, you're going to see a lot of people. But you mentioned the word spamming them with their resumes. As a recruiter, we can usually tell if it's a spam resume. It's what we call spray and pray. If people are sending the same resume for everything, or even if the resume has been written by an AI, we can often tell that an AI either inspired or wrote that resume. They start to sound the same. Those are not normally given as much credence as anything else. So don't let the number of people applying for jobs scare you away. Especially if you're looking at LinkedIn and it says number of applications. Too many of those are just people who do that spray and pray. They're sending their same generic resume for everything. It's not going to help them move forward.
So should I make a satirical resume and that will go, go further than a...
No, please don't, because that will get you kicked out. Okay, I won't take a look. But definitely do one that really matches. And in addition, do not do easy apply on LinkedIn. Sorry, LinkedIn, but don't use easy apply. You want the option. And many of those that, if you're looking at jobs on LinkedIn, many of those people are using easy apply, which basically sends a copy of your LinkedIn profile and may let you answer a couple of questions. It may let you send a resume, it may not, but it's much harder to do it that way. From a recruiter's standpoint, your best bet is to apply directly on the company website. One of the things that we have found is that your resume will actually get into the company's system and to the hiring manager and recruiter's eyes faster if you go directly to the company website than if you apply from LinkedIn, Indeed, or any other source. So go directly to the company's website.
Gotcha. Yeah, for some I've tried, others I don't see it on there depending, but yeah, I really appreciate it.
So if you don't see it on the company's website, that's a red flag. Companies aren't going to post on LinkedIn, but not on their own website at the same time.
Well, I have seen a few companies where they refer you back to LinkedIn and it's cyclical. Does that make sense? Like they're using LinkedIn for that.
Okay, but it should still be posted on their website
Okay.
as part of the careers. Okay. Very few companies are doing that. You have to only apply through LinkedIn. And that would actually surprise me if more companies started to do it that way.
No, I got you. Thank you. They answered my
You're
questions.
very welcome. Vanadurga.
Yeah, I want to share the referral thing which I have experienced with the person in from LinkedIn network. I a known known person from my network, as he was moving to other company, and he had a good reputation. So he because of network relationship with the person, I closely asked him, shall I give my resume so that you can forward it to the internal teams? But I didn't know whether there is an opening of my role. So he just forwarded it. I did not get any call. Maybe in future, I hope so. But presently, a couple of weeks ago, 1 or 2 weeks, I think, I submitted my resume, but no response from them.
Now that happens, unfortunately, but that's a good thing to do, is to check to see when somebody says they're leaving a job.
Mhm.
And do some, especially if you've had some sort of connection with them in the past, reach out to find out more about the role that they left, about the company, about why they're leaving, what suggestions they have. It's a great way of doing some of that networking, because you know that position may soon be open.
Actually, he got another full-time job, so he just want to leave this organization and go for full-time.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Kim.
Hello, hi everyone. I just wanted to, right now I'm in the process of getting my resume together. I just wanted to see, is there any recommendations on either websites to use to put that together, any kind of templates that have worked?
So your best bet is plain, simple, dull, boring Word format. You don't want text boxes, no tables, no colors, no columns.
Okay, good to know.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And if you want more, I'm happy to talk with you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to see, anybody else have hands out? Oh, Mark.
Hi, good morning. What's your opinion of opportunities that come across like as consultant roles that say they have a term of like 4 to 6 months, and in the interview process, you ask the question, well, the ability to convert to permanent, and everyone says yes, but taking that versus a position that is not consulting, that is purely full-time. Is there a push now to take those consulting roles if you're looking for a full-time role, or is it always better to take the full-time role, everything else being equal?
So if everything else being equal, you really have to make the decision as to whether or not it really is equal. Okay. What is it that you're going to be doing in those roles? What are the companies like? We are seeing, Mark, more and more companies doing the contract roles. Okay. Or even what they're calling a fractional role. Used to be called part-time or temporary, but it's the same phrasing. But the idea is that companies are doing that not only because they're trying to still figure out what they really need in their payroll, what that needs to look like. They're trying to manage their expenses. And it's a way of trying to avoid layoffs at some point, because this way, once the work is done, or if you don't work out, right, then they don't have to worry about the rest of it. So we are seeing, actually, one of the HR calls that I was on recently noted that there is an increase again, and predicted to be at least through the end of the year, if not through the end of next year, an increase in the number of those contract role opportunities. So whether you should do it or not, that's up to you. But it does work. Sometimes they will convert into full-time, sometimes they won't. No company is going to tell you that there is a guarantee that it will. Some may say contract to hire, but then there is no obligation to do that. If you take a contract role, though, remember that your final goal probably is, and I shouldn't say this for sure, but if your final goal is to actually find that next forever job, that's probably not a contract role. So even in a contract role, keep looking. There is the implied implication that companies understand that you will continue to look for that full-time role, even in a contract position.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. By the way, next week, it's an open forum. Ask any question that you like. Okay, so make sure you're generating those. I did say that we were going to do a little bit of networking. At this point, it looks like it's going to be after 12 o'clock. I'm happy to stay around and do 2 rounds of networking, 2 20-minute rounds if anybody's interested. But I want to make sure that we're doing that. Okay, anybody else who needs something today? Kim.
I just had a quick question to follow up on your answer to Kim's question. When you said no columns and no boxes. So I have lines because it looks good just created by a box with a line on it because it just separates the section. And I also have columns for my skills just using tabs.
Don't. So tabs is perfect. Tabs works. Specific column, as in adding a table, does not. Remember that for the most part, I'm looking at this either online or very few people actually print it out. So I'm looking at it online, and I'm looking at it either on screen on a computer or in many cases on my phone or a tablet. It needs to be able to be seen easily in all formats. The problem with tables with columns, with putting things side by side or in boxes, is that in many cases that's harder to read on screen. More importantly, some applicant tracking systems don't know what to do with it. The applicant tracking system isn't going to screen you out, but if the applicant tracking system can't read your information, that does you no good. And
okay, I don't have tables, but I just because I'm separating with a line going across each section, it's created by just a 1 line table with 1 line on top.
No, I understand. So as long as it's not
okay?
listed as a text box with that format around it, you may be okay. Some older legacy applicant tracking systems, however, see those lines that go all the way across the page and say end of document or end of page. So there are over 200 applicant tracking systems out there. I can't tell you that that's going to happen for all of them or even a majority of them. But remember, if I'm looking at it on screen, you want to make it as easy for my eye to find things. And sometimes the added space on a page will do exactly the same thing that that line across the page will do. Strictly up to you. As long as it's not a text box, you'll probably be okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, I just hate to do all the customization and the ATS can't see anything now because of the lines going across.
Right. So remember, the ATS is just a database.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to screen you in or out. It has to be able to read it. Human eyes are the ones that are going to go in there and decide what the criteria are that I want it to sort those resumes with. So yes, does the applicant tracking system have to be able to read it? Absolutely. But when I talk about the formatting, in many cases, it's more for my eye, dummy on my side of the desk, than it is for the machines, or just as much for that.
Okay, well, that's why I leave the lines in because it makes it easier to see rather than just all these words. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi. Joe just said something about making it a PDF. Does that make a difference if it for the text boxes? I'm not understanding what Joe means by making it a PDF instead of a Word document. Does that make a difference?
So yeah, I'm not sure, Joe, what you mean either. You can submit or attach your resume as either a Word document or a PDF. In terms of text boxes, that makes no difference. When I'm reading your resume, okay, if it has text boxes, columns, or tables, it is harder for me to read. It is harder for the machine to read, whether it is a PDF or a Word document, if it has that kind of formatting in it.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, anybody else? Okay, so I put all of my information in the chat. I put my information in terms of the private room, private group. as well as how to get a hold of me, and my LinkedIn URL is all there. Please reach out. The reason that I'm saying that now is that I'm about to turn off the recording, and I want to be able to go into those networking groups for those of you who are interested in staying. Before I do, I want to give you just a quick update on, let's see, one more thing. I just managed to engage somebody was talking about putting together the contract, right? Sorry about that, Ally, who was saying that you were just getting stock options as opposed to any compensation. The gentleman that I'm going to be connecting with you with is actually somebody who is going to be speaking to us as a guest expert on June 19th. His whole expertise is in that whole idea about negotiating and talking about salaries as you're doing this process and everything that goes into that process. So keep it on your radar. His name is Alex Immel. I'm going to be putting it out there soon, as soon as he gives me the title for what this is going to be. But this is June 19th, so put it on your radar that we're going to be talking about negotiating salaries and how do you determine what the right role, what that right level is for you and how to get there. Okay? All right. I'm going to stop the recording once I can figure out how. Oh, there we go.